Excuse me. What's going on, everybody? Glad to be back, man. It's been a little while. I don't really know that I'm actually back, but I'm here right now, and that's what matters. So, yeah, I've just been kind of taking a break from YouTube land. You know, it's good to do every once in a while because, you know, it just gets, it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work doing videos every week and stuff, especially since, you know, I'm working a full-time job and I don't really have a studio place that I can go and just film videos at any time. And I'm going to have one next year. I'm going to upgrade my apartment, and we're going to have a 1-bedroom apartment, so that the 1 bedroom is going to be my painting studio / video studio. And, you know, because my living space right now, it's all one open room. Even though I have a loft with stairs right here, there's one open room, so there's never an extra room to close the door or whatever. You know, there's just the bathroom that has a door. That's it. And I can't really film videos in the bathroom. So, yeah, so hopefully next year, in like next August, I'm going to have a dedicated room where I can film any time of the day, any time of the night, without disturbing my girlfriend, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it'll be cool. We'll see what happens. But for now, I'm just doing what I'm doing. Just been painting, been doing a lot of painting and exploring. You can see some color charts back here on the wall that I've been doing. Those took a while. And my paint's laid out right there. I'm using a lot more colors now, so no more limited palette for me. I'm kind of using 10 different colors, I think, plus white. 10 colors plus white, maybe 9 colors, I don't know. So I'm just experimenting with stuff right now, and thanks everybody for tuning in, and take care if anyone has to go so soon. But yeah, check out the replay. I'll just be rambling on like always. But so I've kind of been experimenting with using all these. Yeah, there's 10 colors. You can see here 5 there and 5 on the other side. And I just wrote a blog about it on my new website that I created. Finally got a new website going. I've been really focusing hard on the business side of art. It's something that I haven't really gotten into a lot in the last few years, and especially on my YouTube channel. It's not something that I was really interested in. And I never felt like, honestly, I never felt like my work was up to the quality that I wanted it to be at. And I think right now I'm just starting to reach, I think I'm just now reaching that quality that I've been always looking for in my work. And, you know, and I'm sure you guys have seen that, you know, if you've been following my channel for the last few years, even the last like 2 years, you know, my work has really gone up. And if you check out my website, I think the link's in the description, you can check it out. It's SchaeferFineArt.com. So you can go to my old website, Brandon-Schaefer.com, but it just forwards to my new one now, which is pretty cool. And, you know, you can see the work on there. The recent work I've been doing some autumn scenes, you know, some autumn fall colors of sequoia forests and stuff. Just, you know, forest pathways and stuff. And you know, I think my quality is getting pretty good. So, you know, I'm just experimenting. Been painting a little bit larger lately. I've been doing 12 by 24, 10 by 20, 12 by 16, stuff like that. Not really large, but you know, in the last summer, this whole last summer, I was doing like 6 by 8s and you know, small stuff like that. And now I've been doing, you know, 12 by 24, so 1 foot by 2 foot. And I like it, man. I really like it. It's a good size. It's not something that's overwhelmingly large that would take me multiple days. It's something that I can sit down for 3 or 4 hours and pretty much complete it. And then maybe the next day I can, you know, paint a little bit, fix up some things that jump out at me. So that's kind of been what I've been working on, experimenting with these new colors. And the reason I kind of branched out was I was just reading some books, watching a lot of videos, of master artists, and I see they just used a lot of colors. And you know, like Richard Schmid said, he, you know, big influence on me, Richard Schmid, and he did these color charts, and it started to make sense to me. You know, when you're out doing plein air, you want to be able to mix a color very quickly. So when you get to the point to where you can understand these color charts and what colors you can mix from all these 10 different colors, I already had a foundation of a limited palette. So I already knew red, yellow, and blue and what they're going to be able to mix for the most part. You know, yellow and blue makes green, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows that for the most part. So when you add in these other kind of secondary browns, these other reds or green, it can kind of confuse you, especially when you're mixing like two secondary colors. So if you're mixing like one of these is Indian yellow, but it's more of like an orange. It's kind of like a yellowy orange, transparent, but it's Indian yellow with Viridian. So if you mix Indian yellow and Viridian, what do you get? You know, because they're two secondary colors, you know, an orange and a green. It's not like two primary colors. So I think that's where people can get confused, you know, mixing a purple and a green or a purple and an orange. But you can get really subtle mixtures. But the interesting thing about, let me get back to what I was just saying, you can mix a color very quickly. And that's important to me. And also you can replicate the color very easily. So with a limited palette, I was noticing that I was mixing a lot. I'd have to mix, you know, I spent most of my time mixing color because most of the time you'd have to mix all three colors. You'd always have to use red, yellow, and blue, just a different amount. Sometimes it would be, if you're making a green, sometimes just a little bit of red. And yeah, it can be easy to mix, but sometimes when you're getting those neutral grays, you know, very neutral type of colors, just a special type of color, or brown, some kind of brown, it can take a lot of mixing. And with something like this, when you have a lot of colors to choose from, you can replicate that color very easily by just mixing two colors together. So I can mix up here like Mars red, you know, with Viridian or something and get a real quick color that I know. And then once I get that kind of grayed down type, you know, grayed down type of color, and I need it again later, I know exactly how to mix it. Boom, Mars red, Viridian, a little bit of white, boom, done. You know, I don't have to sit there and mix forever and forever and forever. So some of the colors on my palette now are you could call them convenience colors. Like they're not colors that I would really necessarily need to buy, like yellow ochre. You don't really need to buy yellow ochre. You can mix yellow ochre from other colors, but it's very convenient to have it on your palette because you can get a color very quickly. You know, mixing ultramarine with yellow ochre, you get a very gray type of green. And it just makes sense to me. It just kind of clicked with me. It can cost a little bit more money. I'm not saying every artist should do this. I'm just giving my experience about it. And, you know, that's the thing, is I definitely think a limited palette is useful. And that's the thing. If I get confused outside, I can always just revert back to the limited palette because the limited palette exists in this palette, red, yellow, and blue. So if I ever get confused, boom, you go right back to the basics. Okay, red, yellow, blue. So, you know, it's interesting. It's just something I'm exploring. I'm trying it out for a while, and I'm really enjoying it, actually. Really enjoying it. It's very intuitive. At first, it was really confusing because I just wasn't used to having that many colors. And some of them are obvious. Like, you know, Viridian mixed with any of the yellows. I have like 3 or 4 yellow, or 3 yellows and then like an orange. So mixing Viridian with those, you're obviously going to get a stronger kind of green, like a yellow green. But when I first started using it, it was like, what kind of green am I going to get? You know, mixing Viridian and cadmium lemon is way different than mixing Viridian and yellow ochre. So it was just those kind of small nuanced type of color mixtures that I had to just get used to. And you figure it out by referencing the charts, you know, every time you're painting, you know, just going back and referencing them, and also just using all the colors a lot. And sometimes you'll do a painting and I won't even, sometimes I'll do a painting and I won't even touch one of the colors. And that's fine, it's not a big deal. I don't usually squeeze out a whole bunch of paint anyway, especially with all these 10 tubes. But yeah, I think it's very handy to have just for, you know, plein air and the convenience of mixing color. You can just get colors very quickly. You can replicate a color mixture very quickly. So yeah, it's just been stuff I've been playing around with. It's pretty interesting. And I've also been painting on an oil primed linen. They're still kind of cheaper panels. I think they're called Centurion or something like that. They're still kind of like the, you know, kind of cardboard backing type of panels, but they're oil primed linen. They're just a little bit more expensive. Eventually what I'm going to do, once I get that bigger studio, or a studio at all, I want to start getting some Baltic birch or MDF plywood, and I'm going to have somebody I know help me cut it up into different sizes that I want for panels, and then I'm going to prime it with, back here I have a little can, you can see it there, of lead oil ground, Williamsburg lead oil ground. It's just a white lead paint, and I prime the plywood with that, and it's a real great surface to paint on. I primed one of the panels that I had of it. It takes a long time to dry. You have to let it dry for at least 2 weeks before you can paint on it. And but I think it's worth it. It's pretty cool. You can get all kinds of different textured surfaces, you know, brush strokes, or you can flatten it with the palette knife. You can do all kinds of cool things with it. And, you know, it just gives you a nice, real premium type of surface to paint on, that artists are always striving to get with oil paint. And buying like a lead primed canvas or a lead primed linen canvas is like super expensive. So for me, just buying some Baltic birch plywood, which is pretty archival from what I've read online, pretty high quality. You know, you can buy it for not that expensive, and then just cut it up, boom, prime it, and then, you know, I could probably do that like 2 or 3 times a year, and I wouldn't have to worry. You know, it doesn't take a lot of time. I just prime them all one day, let them dry, and then I'm ready to go for a few months. So that's what I'm planning on doing. But anyway, let's check out the comments here. What's been going on, everybody? I've just been, like I've been saying, I've just been working, focusing on the business side a little bit. There's sometimes where, there was one week where I did 8 paintings in 1 week. Like every day I was waking up and doing those autumn paintings. You can see one of them here. Check out my website. You can see them close up and just better image. So every day I was waking up and just doing one of those paintings in the morning, and then doing my graphic design work for my job later in the day, if possible. And then the next week I didn't do any painting, and I focused strictly on, I built my whole new website. And then, you know, I've just been focusing on a lot of different things when it comes to making a living with art. I've been reading different books written by artists who make a living on it. And I'll tell you, it's a lot more than just getting into galleries or doing juried shows and all that kind of stuff. That, you know, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more ways to make a living from it. And I'm been focusing on creating a plan for next year, and I'm just going to really hit everything hard with making a living from my painting, because it's super important to me, man. You know, I'm getting to the point where I don't want to work for anybody else, man. I'm done with that. You know, I have this skill, I have the ability, I have a niche already, you know, forest and trees and nature, landscapes. This painting actually here I did the other day. You can't really see it that well, but I'll be posting that within the next week or two. It's still wet. I just did it yesterday, and it's of a historic small building, a real small library that was built 100 years ago, local building around here. And I'm going to enter that into a show in the next, I got to submit an image by next week, and I just ordered a frame for it today. So hopefully I'll get the frame next week, and then it's going to be in a local show. It's a pretty cool show. I just found out about it through email like last week, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do something for this. So there's certain buildings around the town that are that are historical buildings, and they want you to paint or create some kind of 2D art, whether it's photography or something, of what the buildings look like now, and then they're going to hang them side by side from pictures from 100 years ago when they were built. So it's pretty cool, and so that's the one I chose, and it came out pretty well. So maybe I'll show a close-up of that in just a few minutes here, but let's check out these comments. New sub here, Georgia Family Southern Style. Thanks for joining. Hope you're still here. Hope you're still watching. Appreciate it. You are so sympathetic. Thanks. I appreciate that. I think that's a compliment. I'm sympathetic. Okay. Can you do some glow-in-the-dark paintings? I don't know. I've never really thought about that. That would be interesting. I've seen artists do that online. I guess they make glow-in-the-dark paint, right? I mean, maybe I'll experiment with that. I'll have to go to Michael's and see how much it is. And I actually have some old canvases here, like acrylic gesso canvases, so maybe I could use some of those and just play around with it. Any tips for someone just beginning drawing? Yeah, a lot of tips. There's a lot of tips. Sketch as much as you can, draw as much as you can. Don't give up, keep practicing, draw from life as much as possible. So, draw, it's tough. You can draw from photographs if you want, like on your computer and stuff, but definitely draw from life, because that's really crucial. Just put your hand in a certain position, a fist or whatever, and then just sit there and draw it. And get a small sketchbook. One of those small sketchbooks is like 100 pages, and just fill up a whole sketchbook with whatever you're interested in. I did a whole sketchbook of just hands once because I wanted to get really good at drawing hands. So I would just draw hands in all different positions, and I filled up the whole sketchbook. And I got pretty good at it. And that's the thing. It's just the way to get good at anything is to just do it a lot. I mean, think about anything. Think about snowboarders. Remember the X Games? People used to do snowboarding and all kinds of stuff, dirt biking and all. How did they get good at that? They just do it all the time. They do it a lot. They're passionate about it. So first of all, you got to have kind of that drive to do it, that passion. I wake up and I go, man, I wish I could make a living from my painting. What am I going to paint today? What adventure am I going to go on? What do I want to do today? What am I going to paint? Get out in nature. That's what I'm interested in. So whatever you're interested in, apply that to your art. If you're passionate about art and nature, start drawing nature, painting nature. If you like urban buildings and stuff, start drawing that. Start, going out and walking around the town and taking photographs, reference, do all kinds of stuff. You have to apply yourself. You have to just put the work in and do it. And if you really love doing it, it's not going to feel like work. And that's what I'm coming to the realization. I used to think the business side of art was like, oh, it sucks, having to deal with money and trying to sell and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather be doing that and selling paintings to people who love my work and love nature than working for somebody else, sitting around, having to design logos or doing whatever, sitting in a cubicle all day. I mean, who wants to do that? Maybe there's some people out there that don't mind that, and that's fine for them. But for me, I know for myself, that's not what I'm going to be doing long term. So, yeah, I mean, basically just put the work in and do it, man. Mr. Schaefer, ? Hello there. What's going on? Hello, I am new on this channel. Well, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Don't talk about Fight Club. Yes, sir. What club? I'm not even going to mention it. I'm a new subscriber today. Thank you for posting drawing videos. Well, thanks for subscribing. Hope you enjoy the videos. I know a lot of them were made a few years back, so they're pretty rough, but I hope you enjoy them. Anyway. I checked the new website, and your progress is very inspiring. The autumn pieces are great. I need to get outside and paint. Yes, for sure. Thank you, man. I appreciate you checking it out. And yeah, man, I think my progress is getting pretty good, and especially this painting. I'm going to show you guys that soon. I think I'm just, you know, I'm not like I'm the best artist ever or anything, but I think for myself, like where I used to be, man, I wish I had some old paintings to show you guys. I probably do somewhere, but I got rid of most of like my crappy kind of art, you know, still lifes and stuff. I have a lot of them still, all the good ones, but yeah, I think I've gotten so much better just from like 2013. You know, I'm getting up there to where I want to be. And it's encouraging for myself to see that in my own work. I can compare the photos and go, or the art, you know, the paintings side by side and go, man, I'm getting so much better just doing this year after year, month after month, day after day. You get better, and it's slow. You see the progress over time. It's not something that you necessarily will see. You're not necessarily going to make a quantum leap every day, but I will say after reading books, and like I spent like a month, you know, like a month or two ago, I spent like probably 2 or 3 weeks just watching videos and reading books on painting, and I didn't do any painting. And then the next time I went to do a painting, it was so much better than the other work I was doing. It's crazy. I don't know how it works, but sometimes I end up getting these quantum leaps somehow, like something just finally clicks in my brain and goes, oh, that's how I should be handling paint, or that's how I should be using my brush, or doing this, or it's something very subtle, but like, you know, it's something that I didn't know last year. You know, when I was doing these larger paintings of all these forests that I've been showing you guys lately, you know, this newer work is, you know, I'm handling the paint differently. It's very interesting, like just seeing the differences. Like now I'm using more thinner paint, transparent layers, and it really can make a difference. And last year I was using very thick paint, really brush strokes, and now I'm using the paint more abstractly, trying to keeping the paint looking like paint, but making it look like something else other than just a brush stroke. It's looking like leaves or something. I'm not necessarily painting each leaf. I'm just like abstractly, you know, it's hard to explain, but just a lot of, you know, something just always clicks. It's very interesting. Hello from Branson, Missouri. Love your work. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your comment. And Missouri, how is it in Branson, Missouri? I feel like I've been there. I feel like I've driven through there when I was younger, but I can't say that I remember. But I have grandparents that live about 20 minutes east of St. Louis in Illinois, so it's pretty cool. I'm not sure where Branson, Missouri actually is, but it's pretty close, I think. Teach us how to draw like a cartoon or something. Sorry, man, it's not my thing. You know what I mean? If you want to just go on YouTube and type in how to draw cartoons, I mean, there's tons of stuff out there like that. For me, it's not my thing. I'm more into realism and painting realism, drawing realism. So, sorry, man. Can I learn drawing on iPad? You can learn anything if you want. I don't have an iPad, so I can't really teach that. I can't really show you how to do that. I don't really know how to do that myself, but yeah, you can learn how to do it. You just got to want to do it. You know, start doing some Google searching, you know. Hi from Sri Lanka. Thanks for tuning in. I don't even know what time it is over in Sri Lanka, man. That's near India, right? That's crazy. It's so cool meeting all these people from across the world. You know, I got friends on Facebook, a girl I know from Pakistan. I mean, it's really cool, you know, from an American perspective, and this is just a broad, you know, not all Americans think this way, but most Americans, I would say, when you just look at the news, and I think the average Joe would go, Pakistan, man, all those people are just, you know, extremist Muslims and blah, blah, blah. Like people don't understand different cultures across the world, that especially like somewhere like Iran, like Iran, that place, it's so huge. It's such a large country. And there's such, even just within that country, there's so many different cultures mending and going on. You know, the North is way different from the South. You know, I've watched a lot of documentaries on just the Middle East and Asia, and the culture is so interesting. I really would love to like visit places over there eventually. It's unfortunate that you know, America is doing what it's done. You know, the Western culture is kind of destroying a lot of places over there, and it's just unfortunate with what's happening within their own countries as well. You know, all the religious fighting and stuff going on. You know, I don't want to get political, but my point is, like, you know, going somewhere in Pakistan, you know, things happen and, you know, bad things happen, car bombs go off, but there's beautiful places over there. You know, you go in the city and there's so much, you know, there's people that have more Western culture and beautiful people over there, and people with ideas and that are more open-minded. And people in America just don't see that. We don't see that on the news. We only see bad things. They only report bad stuff. You know, it's interesting, you know. But anyway, just trying to open minds a little bit, you know, just get people thinking, like, you know, wow. You know, I think it would be cool one day to go to like Nepal or Tibet or, you know, somewhere over there where just seeing how differently people live from myself. You know, people live in a little hut with a fireplace, you know, a little fire pit, and, you know, and those people are so happy. You know, Americans are so, a lot of them are so depressed and on drugs and pills and all this stuff, and they have all this stuff, and we have all this wealth and cars, and it's like, do we need all this stuff really, you know, to be happy? And I don't think we do. You know, it's interesting. Anyway, let's get back to it. I want to learn how to draw from you. I want to learn to draw things realistically. I also want to draw realistic faces. I just started learning how a week ago. Talk more in detail on drawing realistic people and faces. That's definitely an interesting topic. You know, drawing realistic anything it's about values, which is how light or dark something is, and it's about shape. So getting the correct shape, obviously. So shape, seeing how dark or light it is, and edges. Edges are so important. So think about, and edges coincide with values. So the edges of, let's say, I'm trying to give an example here on the video. You know, the edge of this microphone thing here is much sharper than the edge of my beard. You can see my beard, especially on this side over here. See how it's all fuzzy kind of, and especially if you squint. If you squint down like this and look at it, that will separate, you get a separation of values. So it'll separate light from dark. So you see a clear of what's in shadow, what's in light. So when you squint, you'll see this separation of values, and that's very important. You'll also take note of edges. You'll see the hardest edges and you'll see the softest edges. So it's not always, when you're drawing, it's not about lines, it's about value and softness, hard and softness. Sometimes there's a sharp line, you know, on my eye right here, sharp line, but then the side of my nose here and the shadows is very soft. So that's more of blending and not hard lines. You know, it's very hard to like talk about it without showing it or demonstrating it and learning it that way, but it's something you kind of have to know the why behind it, or the how. You know, creating these soft edges, you know, by blending it, or you know, so when you get your values and edges right, and your proportions and shapes, boom, you know, those are the things, those are the key things that you really have to focus on. You know, I could talk about that for hours and hours and hours, so I apologize that, you know, it's kind of an abbreviated, you know, explanation, but there's plenty of good artists out there, especially on YouTube, look up there's one great artist out there that has a channel on drawing that, you know, my videos just aren't going to beat. And it's Proko, Proko. And his name is Stan Prokopenko. A weird name, Stan Prokopenko. And great artist at drawing. I mean, his videos are amazing. So definitely check him out for drawing. He's definitely a great artist all around for painting, drawing. He went to Jeff Watts's atelier down in Southern California, and he's just a great artist, man. Just really great artist. So definitely check that out. I'm Syrian. I respect your opinion, and I wish you visit Syria after it gets safe. You'll love it. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, man. It's like, even if it does get safe, you know, I don't know how people feel about Americans. You know, I know most of the average people, like I've seen videos of people in Iran and stuff, and they're like, we love the people of America. We just don't like the government. You know, they say like death to America. But a lot of them, what they mean is the American government. And I think most Americans would agree with that, because it's like, you know, we don't like the last two choices we had, Trump or Hillary. It's like, those are the choices. You know, that's the problem. That's really what it comes down to. And that's the problem with politics and stuff is the government. Most governments are just terrible. You know, they don't care about people. They don't care about the actual country or the people. And I think most people around the world are nice people, and we would love to meet and learn about each other's culture, you know. But yeah, man, I would love to just visit all kinds of cool places. There's there's so many beautiful places on this earth, and it's a shame that you know, they're being destroyed, or you know, there's conflict in all these countries, and just things being, you know, terrible things being done. And hopefully one day, you know, all this stuff will get solved, you know, either through technology or something, you know, who knows. But yeah, it's tough. Is modern art real art? Because I find it hard to approach. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. It's like, art is an opinion. When it comes down to it, I think art is just an opinion. So if you think modern art isn't art, then that's your opinion, but there's no real definitive answer on it. It's really what kind of modern art. You know, there's so many different kinds of art out there. That you know, I think some of it's garbage, and some of it's valuable. So it's all about what you get from it, and you know, it's all about like how it makes you feel, you know, and you never know till you actually see it in person, you know, because I used to think like those big paintings that are just like two different colors or something, I used to think like, wow, that's so simplistic. You know, they didn't even put any thought into it. It's just two colors. But when you see it in real life, you know, it's this large thing, and you're staring at it. It can make you feel a certain emotion. And it's interesting. I didn't really think about that until I read comments online and stuff, and people were like, you can actually feel a different, you know, it makes you feel a certain way. And now thinking about it, it's kind of like fast food restaurants. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it just popped into my mind. Think about the environment of like, you know, I've always heard this about fast food restaurants, like the inside, they always make it like red and yellow, like these bright colors, because it makes you want to leave fast. Like they don't want you to hang around forever. So if you sit down and eat, they want you to get out of there. So, you know, maybe art in that way modern art can make you feel a certain way. But, you know, a big white blank canvas with like a red mark on it or something, and it goes for like millions of dollars and stuff. I don't understand that aspect of it. You know, the whole auction and making it, you know, giving it value by, you know, I don't know. It's really bizarre. But yeah, so that's my kind of answer to it. It's just an opinion, you know. How did you get into art? I started drawing when I was like, before I can even remember, you know, 4 or 5, maybe 3. I don't even know. I have an older sister who's 4 years older than me. And when I was younger, I always copied what she did. You know, a lot of kids do that. They just copy what they see. And my sister would color and draw and stuff. So when I was young, I would just copy what she was doing. And then, you know, I just kept doing it. When I was like 5, I would draw Scooby-Doo and all this stuff, you know, the VHS old classic Disney covers of Winnie the Pooh and all this stuff. And I would just try to copy the cover art, 101 Dalmatians, stuff like that. And my family just encouraged me. They said, wow, you can draw really good. And by the time I got to like 3rd grade, my hand-eye coordination was pretty good. You know, over the years, looking back at my work when I was a kid, I was like, I can't believe people told me this stuff was good, because it's like, you know, really shaky, and I didn't have really great hand-eye coordination. But over the years, you know, by the time I was 15, I was pretty good. So that's how I kind of got into it. It's not really like that I got into it. It's that like, it's just what I've done, you know. Honestly, you'll find some people offensive, but most are kind. That's good to hear. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just like in America, you know, there's some people that are douchebags, but everybody, mostly people overall are nice and generous that you're going to run into. When did you when did you get to painting? When did I get into painting? I started painting 2009, 2010 is when I first started doing it in college, but then I really got into it at the end of 2011. That's when I really got into it. So just a few years ago, like six years ago. I don't know. I can't add or anything, but I can paint. Oh, good question. I was just about to talk about this. What's your take on the $500 million Da Vinci painting? That's crazy, man. I was just about to get into that because I posted that on my art Facebook page last night. It's interesting, man. I can't believe it's that's a lot of money. $450 million. I think it went for 400 million, but like after fees, $50 million worth of fees. I don't even know what that means. Taxes and stuff. I don't know. But $450 million, that's big money, man. And they're not saying who actually bought it. So that's interesting. But the actual painting itself, I mean, it looks pretty cool. You know, I've seen some Da Vinci's in real life. It looks pretty cool. I know there's some controversy behind it, you know, about is it really a Da Vinci? And I saw a whole big debate on Facebook last night. People posting comments about it and stuff. And they're saying that parts of the painting look like a Da Vinci. And I kind of agree. You know, I think it was the left side of the painting. Left side, but the person's right side, you know, because the portrait's looking at you. You know, the hand is done really well and the hair is done really well. But they're saying there's like some inaccuracies about it. Like one of the left eye is enlarged. You know, the proportions are wrong. And people are saying Da Vinci would never do that. So some people are saying that part of it was Da Vinci, and then the other side of it, like the clothing and stuff looks really refined, really nice, along with the hand. And they're saying, okay, Da Vinci probably painted that. But then when you move to the other side where he's holding like a crystal ball or a glass orb, the orb looks a little weird. The clothing on that side, the folds in the cloth, doesn't look as refined as the other side. I don't know if that's just, it's been over cleaned, so the detail's been rubbed off, or some people are thinking that's also student work on top of, you know, trying to copy the master. So who knows? I don't know. It's interesting. And what they've said is that there's been student work from hundreds of years after that painting has been done, doing master copies of it, and all the studies are named, you know, after Da Vinci. So they're they're just going on that, saying, okay, it's a Da Vinci painting, but maybe parts of it aren't. But yeah, it's crazy, man. $450 million. Here's what I'll say. Here's my opinion on it. I'm glad that the most expensive painting so far to date, the $450 million that just happened, the Da Vinci, I'm glad it was a Da Vinci and not one of those modern art, you know, kind of thrown together type of paintings. I'm glad it was actually something that has, you know, a real like quality to it. That's what am I trying to say? I'm not good with words. I'm just good with paint. You know, I'm good with visual stuff. But you know what I'm saying? It has like this craftsmanship, you know, this high quality rendering, and you know, it kind of took a lot of time to get to that level, rather than like a Jackson Pollock that's kind of just splattered paint or something. You know, that's my opinion on it. But yeah, it's crazy what happened in Syria, you know, and just all the other parts of the world. I mean, Libya, I think, is pretty much a failed state since they overthrew Gaddafi. I mean, there's so much corruption and things happening in the world. It's sad, man. Especially North Korea right now. North Korea is a very, very interesting, man. I've watched a lot of documentaries on North Korea, and who really knows the truth? Because like, that place is so locked down that like if you go to visit North Korea, like you're literally, you cannot go freely around the country. It's crazy. Very interesting place. I mean, it's a shame that like places like that still exist. And but it's just very, very interesting. But you know, I think as a whole, I mean, I think the world's doing better. I mean, when you look at statistics and stuff, at least statistics that I've seen, you know, over the way the world is right now, we're actually less and less people are dying from wars every year. You know, there's way less people dying from wars than there were hundreds of years ago. So I think we're getting to a point where there's less and less of this conflict and stuff happening. But it's very easy to get into the mindset of like, just looking at all the negative things in the world and going, man, everything is just bad. But the flip side of that, there's so much good happening as well. You know, there's so many good people out there now, especially with the internet. You know, it's so easy to connect with people, and all the good that people are doing can be spread to a wider audience. And, you know, it's pretty cool. I hope someday I can visit Croatia, bro. Yeah, Croatia. Where is? Man, I feel so ignorant right now because I can't picture in my mind where Croatia is on a map. I'm literally Googling it right now. Is it an island? Oh, I feel so stupid. Oh no, it's not an island, but it is on. I feel so stupid. I know where a lot of countries are in the world, but Croatia is just not one that I hear about that often. But I'm really good with geography. When I was in like second grade, man, I loved social studies. That was my thing, man. I loved geography. And I was the kid in the class that when we started studying the capitals of all the states of the U.S., I knew all of them. I studied every night. I was the one kid that knew all of them because they would test out loud. Like if you know the capital of Vermont, raise your hand and we'll give you a piece of candy if you get it right. And bro, I was like the candy hoarder because I knew all of them. I knew every state capital of the U.S. I probably still know a little bit, mostly all of them, but I'm a little rusty because I haven't done it since like second or third grade. But the funny thing was, my older sister was in like 4th or 5th grade at the time, and she was studying that, and I got really into it, and I had a really good memory, and I just learned all of them. And when I was in second grade, they were like, wow, you know all these? And I was like, yeah, I know all this. And it was crazy. So Croatia is on the Adriatic Sea, right across from Italy. That's interesting. Okay. See, a lot of these small, what do you call it, Eastern European countries, I'm just not aware of. You know, we don't ever, I don't hear about them as much. And I definitely don't ever look on a map that much. So Croatia's pretty big, man, but it looks beautiful, you know, right along the coast there. Really beautiful. So it's near Hungary, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I've never really heard that. Wow. Yeah, man, I would love to visit all these places. Be pretty cool. Okay, folks, give me 1 second here. I got to scroll back. Here we go. To YouTube. I had so many tabs open right now. I was doing so much research earlier. Have you tried golden open acrylics? Do they really behave like oils? Very good question. Yes, I've tried golden open acrylics, and I used them for about a year. If you go on my channel and type in golden open acrylics, I probably have some videos on them. No, they don't really behave like oils. I mean, they're better. They're more like oils than acrylics. Let me state that correctly. They're more like oils than they are acrylic, but they still have the feel of acrylics. I mean, the thing about oils is the oils just slide on the canvas so nicely, and acrylics like just don't have this. You got to use a lot more paint with acrylics to get the same amount of coverage as you do with oils. But the open acrylics definitely stay wet for like a day. So you are able to blend a lot better and get some different effects with acrylics that you normally wouldn't. And if you really want to experiment with the open acrylics, I suggest buying the open acrylic medium itself. So you can use normal acrylics and then just use the open acrylic medium when you want the paint to last longer. So you just squirt a little bit of medium into the paint, mix it around, and boom, that paint will take longer to dry. So now what you have is acrylics. So some areas you can get to dry real quickly and then you can add another layer. Or if you need to blend something, you can add a little bit of medium. And the medium, you can get a whole like 8 ounces or 16 ounces, something like that for like $10. And it's so much cheaper than buying the tubes of open acrylics. So that's a trick. Did you go to some art school or something special? No, I did not. I went to school for graphic design at a local community college in Delaware. And yeah, I did graphic design. We had to do photography classes. We did one drawing class. We did a color and composition class, which we did like one painting of each medium. I did acrylics and watercolor. And we also did a color pencil. And that's kind of where I branched out from painting. I started doing watercolor, then I did acrylics, and then I jumped into oils. So that's kind of how my journey went. And it's just practicing. After 5 years of practicing with paint, I'm finally getting to somewhere I can do a good painting almost every time. Not every time, but almost every time. I heard that artists back then would have a lot of assistants, like Michelangelo, for instance. Yeah, it depends. I mean, I guess if they could afford to do that. But yeah, a lot of them would have like an assistant that would mix up their paint for them. Because back then you had to not just mix up their paint, but make their paint. So they would actually put the oil and the pigment and mill it together, or whatever it's called. Or mull it together. What's that? I don't know. Whatever. But they would actually create their paint for them and prepare their canvases for them. And a lot of times their assistants, I think, at least as the years went on, they would learn how to paint from them. So that's how nowadays we have these ateliers where you go and learn from master artists. I think that's kind of where the tradition stems from, is kind of learning that classical way of painting and drawing. Is there a way of sending you photos of my sketches to tell what is wrong? Yeah, go on my website and send me an email. SchaeferFineArt.com. The link should be in the description. And then just hit the contact button and you'll see a contact form, or you'll see a little icon that looks like an envelope, and that's my email. So you can just click that, send me an email, and attach some photos, and I'll email you back. My email is info@SchaeferFineArt.com. info@SchaeferFineArt.com. I'm from Bosnia, and I cannot pronounce that for the life of me. Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's next to Croatia. Wow, thanks for joining, man. It's how coincidental that you would be on watching the live stream. How is it there? How is it in Bosnia? It sounds like a really interesting place. I mean, I've never actually, I don't know that I've actually seen any images of like the landscape or seen anything from Bosnia. I'm gonna have to do I'm gonna do some research. Look up some, see if there's any documentaries of just, the landscape and just the overall culture. I've watched documentaries on like Uzbekistan. Really interesting. Like I never even knew, like, when most people wouldn't even know where Uzbekistan is on a map. So when you look at it on a map, it's like, oh, it's almost like Russia. It's like southern Russia. And the culture is just, most people would think it's Middle East because of the stan on it, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uzbekistan. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting cultures out there that you don't even know exist until you look it up. Do you have an opinion on artists versus student acrylics? Do you think you can get professional results with cheaper paints? It's possible. I think it's possible. The difference between professional artist grade and professional grade paints. Here's the difference. Artist grade paints have a filler in them. So they, at least for oil paints, they usually use something called, I think it's called calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate. And it's just this white fine powder. And what it does is they add that into it instead of more pigment. So normally oil paints are oil and pigment, and the pigment is the color. So normally it's a pigment powder with oil. They mix it together, boom, you have oil paint. To make it cheaper, you add half the amount of pigment that you normally would, and instead you add calcium carbonate, which is like some kind of, I think it's like chalk or something, some kind of, whatever, I don't know. It's just a white powder, calcium powder. So they add that to extend the paint. So instead of it being more pigment, there's less pigment, more filler. Now it's cheaper to produce, cheaper to make, cheaper to buy. That's a student grade paint. So your student grade paints are going to have less pigment. They're not going to be as strong of a color. And they may act, the consistency may be a little bit different because it's not the consistency of that pigment, because every pigment reacts differently in the oil. It's going to be that pigment plus calcium carbonate. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, if that's what you have to afford, that's the only thing you can afford is the student grade. Do the student grade. That's what I used to do. I used to do the student grade. What I purchase now, actually, let me show you the paint that I actually use now. This is the brand of paint that I use, that I've kind of switched to using just recently. And these are oil paints, so if you use acrylics, just disregard this, but this is the brand that I use now, Blue Ridge Oil Colors. And you can see it's written on there. And these paints are made by an artist in North Carolina. He tubes all the paint up himself, you know, very professionally, tubes it up, mixes up the paint, tubes it up, and writes the name on there, and it's handmade paint. And it is actually very high quality paint. I love, this is my favorite paint because it's, most of the paint is mixed. It's not just linseed oil, it's a mixture of linseed oil and walnut oil, which is, walnut oil has a different consistency, a different kind of feel to it. It's a little bit smoother, it kind of glides a little bit better, and I really like this, and it has more of a brush ability to it. It's a lot creamier, smoother. It's not as tough as like Gamblin's paints or some kind of paint that's made in a factory. And this stuff is cheap. I mean, a lot of the cadmium colors are going to be more expensive. Like I think this tube is for a 40 mil tube. It's kind of like what you would buy in the store, like at a Gamblin. It's like 20 bucks. But a lot of the paint, like this one, trans red oxide, I think this larger tube, 150 milliliter, I think this was like 11 bucks or something. So I can buy in bulk like this, and I plan to do that with all my tubes. I'm just saving up money to buy a large amount. You can get, you know, 3 times more of the paint for like only twice the price or something. You know, I can get, instead of 40 mil, I can get 150 mil, and the tube is 50 bucks instead of 20 bucks. So kind of a difference there. But the reason I like that paint is I'm supporting an artist. I'm supporting the guy who makes the paint. You know, I'm supporting his small business, and I get high quality handmade paint. It's great. I mean, it's great stuff. I don't know why I went off on that tangent. Okay, a lot of questions here. I gotta go through these quick, man. I'm starting to get weak because I'm really hungry. I haven't really eaten today. Hold on, let me grab something real quick. Sorry, folks. I'm really hungry right now. I gotta eat something. I thought I wouldn't get hungry before I started this. Can you make a video about the history about painting? By that I mean the evolution of the techniques. Maybe one day. It's not really something I'm interested in right now, in this moment. Peter's voice from Peter Draws and your voice is so alike each other's. I've never heard of him. I'm going to check out his channel. Peter Draws. Okay. What is the hardest thing about art, in your opinion? Making a living from it. That's one hard thing. If you're talking like technical aspect, I mean, it's just, you know, the consistency of quality. You know, getting that good quality all the time. That's a real difficult thing. Okay, I think I'm good now. Just found your videos a few days ago. I can't draw, but I wish I could, so I'm planning to watch your tutorials. Thanks, I appreciate it. Hope you find them helpful and really get into it. Hey Schaefer, where are you based in the States? I'm in Northern California. About 15 minutes, 20 minutes west of Sacramento, in a small town named Davis. Davis, California. It's a pretty cool town, but super expensive to live in. My girlfriend and I were looking at houses recently, trying to find a house to move into, and there's no house in the town under $400,000. There's no house in this town under $400,000. And most of the houses are not even that big. They're like 2 or 3 bedroom, maybe. You know, some of them are like 900 square foot, 1,000 square foot, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, $415,000, $500,000. It's like, holy moly. Are we ever going to afford to live here? Nah, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be tough. So yeah, that's where I'm based. I have a few paints which are semi-opaque. I want them to be opaque. Case in point, golden pyrols red without affecting vibrance. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I don't really know how you can do that. The only way to make it opaque is to do it in, you'd have to just do it in multiple layers to where it actually gets opaque, because that's a lot of some paints are more opaque than others. I mean, that's just how it is. So you have to just find a red that is more opaque if that's what you're looking for, or just, you know, layer it on. Did you know that Bosnia, I can't say the Herzegovina, I'm just going to say that. Bosnia-Herzegovina is an Islamic country in Europe. Yeah, I did not know that. I'm going to have to read up on this stuff, dude. There's a lot of countries that I don't really know about that are kind of in that Eastern Europe. I've been looking a lot in like in Asia and the Middle East. I've been looking at all those countries recently, but I kind of skipped over Eastern Europe. Thanks for that info, Hugo. Nice to see you here, man. Thanks for tuning in. Hope the art's been going well, man. You're a great artist. A lot of potential there. Later. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, man. I've seen his videos for a while, but I forgot where he came from. You know, to set the scene. Yeah, I'm from California. I'm not from California. I live in California. I've been here like 4 years now? 5 years now? 2013. 4 years now. It's been great, man. Living in California, it's been great. Way better, way different, and way better than Delaware. It's funny that I moved from one coast all the way to the other coast. And it's interesting that everywhere I lived in my life so far has been near the coast. I was born and raised in Biloxi, Mississippi, down on the coast, down on the Gulf of Mexico. Lost my house in Hurricane Katrina, so then I moved to Delaware where my mom lived. And Delaware is on the coast, pretty much. I was like 15 minutes from the coast in Dover, Delaware, just south of Dover. And then I moved now to California, although now I'm not really, I'm in the valley. I'm right in the middle of California. I'm 2 hours to Lake Tahoe, which is on the border of Nevada. So I'm 2 hours, like 2.5 hours from Nevada, and I'm like 2.5 hours from San Francisco. So I'm right in the middle, but I'm still on a coastal state, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting that I've always been right on the coast. I love your videos. Your videos inspired me to do art, and I've been learning from your videos as well. Thanks, I appreciate it, man. That's what they're there for, you know. That's why I always I was making the videos a few years ago, was just partly like documenting my journey, but also helping others along the way with just showing stuff that I learned about, that I was learning about at the time. Oh, man. I'm so glad it's Friday. So glad it's Friday. How would you do a fluffy feather texture like that on a chick? Are you talking drawing or painting? So either way, if you're drawing or painting, number one focus of that is the edges. So just like, you know, my beard here, my little crappy thin beard, it's going to be very soft. So what that means is like you're going to, I'm going to show you an example right here. So here's my most recent painting. It's a 12 by 16. I think it's pretty cool. Ugh, it's so dark. Oh, it's so light. There we go. I apologize. My webcam is horrible on this laptop, but you'll see photos of it in a week or two on my website. It's hard to see that there, but see this tree here above? It's really hard to tell. I thought I'd be able to show you better. But see the brush strokes? It's just really soft. It's blended out into the sky. You know, it's way different than like, see the solar panels on the roof? See how it's such a sharp edge, a lot of contrast? Here you want less contrast and more of a softer, blended, smoothed out edge. Got paint on all of my hands now. So yeah, that's kind of what you're going for like a feather, some kind of fluffy, you know, some kind of texture, whether it's like hair sticking up. You know, if somebody has like an afro, like Bob Ross, my homie Bob Ross, man. You know, that's going to be, the edges are going to be less sharp than the edges of my hair. See, my hair, it's kind of bloop, just kind of sharp. Here's something. Compare the top of my head to my beard. See over here, I get these, you know, these hairs sticking out. So how would you draw or paint that? It's going to be soft. It's not going to be an outline around it like it would up here. Up here, it's going to be an outline around the top of my head. But when you get down here, it's all going to be value mass. It's all going to be shading or blending, stuff like that. Yeah, so for painting, I hope that helps. Does that make sense? It's kind of you know, just really softening and just watching your edges, you know. And even within the chick, like say within my hair up here, there's probably going to be, everything's going to be very soft and blended. So there's not going to be a lot of sharp edges, I imagine. And there probably won't be a lot of contrast. Usually your sharpest edge, you know, this is a general statement, but usually like the sharpest edge is going to be where there's the most contrast. So look back here, like this hanger on this light against this black hanger against a white wall. You know, a lot of contrast there and also a sharp edge accompanying it. So, you know, if the wall behind it was a very, very dark gray, almost to black, but a lighter, you know, a darker light gray, there wouldn't be as much contrast. So maybe the edge wouldn't look as sharp. The edge, you know, think about this. Think about if you have two squares of color next to each other. Think of you having a black one and a white one. And now slowly turn the black, slowly turn the black square up to white and make the white square black. In the middle, they're both going to be gray and the edge will disappear. And also, as the closer they are to gray, the closer are, whether one's light gray and one's dark gray, the edge isn't going to be as hard, and there's not going to be as much contrast as there is when it's white against black. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Wow, living in Barcelona. That's pretty cool. That's Spain, right? Barcelona, Spain. That sounds correct. I'd love to go to Spain, man. Actually, I have someone there who owns some cottages. I know someone there. And he said, yeah, if you ever want to visit here, you can. I want to visit there. This is why I would love to work for myself, because I have so many things I want to accomplish in my life. There's so many places I want to go, I want to do. And when I have like, you know, a day job, it's like, man, I can't do any of that. Which is fine. I mean, most people aren't going to be able to do stuff like that. But, oh, so nice to see you. Hi, smiley face. Nice to see you too. Or nice to see your comment. Thank you for the comment. I do recognize your name, so thank you for joining once again. I really like your painting breakdown videos. Please do more when you get time. Thanks, I appreciate that. I wasn't sure if many people liked them, so I kind of just stopped doing them. But yeah, I really think those are valuable videos, the video breakdowns. I can definitely do more of those in the future. Not sure when I'll be able to do them, but yeah, for sure, I'll do those. I'll keep those on my list. How often do you clean your oil brushes? Well, I use solvent when I paint, so I'm always like cleaning them. But if you're talking about like a good deep cleaning, maybe after 2 or 3 paintings, I will use, let me show you real quick. This is the Masters Brush Cleaner and Preserver. This is a big tub of it. You can buy a small thing of it as well, but it's really good brush cleaner. Mine's a little dirty, excuse it on the sides there, but it's just this white block, and you wet your brushes and then you swirl it in here, and it kind of foams up, and it gets on your brushes, and then you kind of scrub it in your hand or in the sink or whatever, and it really gets all the pigment out. Really great. This stuff, it makes your brushes feel like new after you use them. So I try to use this. I try to clean my brushes like almost after every painting. It depends on how often I'm going to be painting. Like if I know I'm going to be painting the next day again, I may not do like a deep clean. But really after like 2 or 3 paintings, I'll deep clean them for real, to really get some of the pigment out that's deep down in the brush. I don't want to let that dry in there. So that's kind of how often I do it. But really after every painting session, I'll clean them in solvent to get as much of the pigment out as I can. Also, what process do you like to use to clean the brushes with? Oh, I just answered that question, I think. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. I'll show you some of the solvents that I'm starting to use. So I've always kind of used Gamsol, and I realized I don't think I want to be using this one that much anymore. See, there's only a little bit left, and I'm kind of just waiting for this thing to run out. So I don't like using that anymore because they say it's the standard for studio safety. And I even read somewhere, I think it was online, that I want to see if it says it on here. Well, on their website or somewhere in a video or something, they said the safest solvent you could use or something like that. Like, they made this absurd claim, and it's totally just marketing. This is definitely not the safest solvent to use that you could use. That's for sure. It even says down at the bottom, danger, combustible, harmful or fatal if swallowed, vapor, harmful. So the vapor is harmful, but it's odorless. So you don't know how much vapor you're actually inhaling all the time, especially in an apartment like this. I do try to open the door or something, and I always put the the lid on my solvent thing when I'm not painting. But you don't really know how much of this you're inhaling, and it's not good for your health. So something I'm moving toward is something like this. This is a lavender brush cleaner. Now this stuff is strong smelling. The first time I used it, I kind of got a headache because it's very strong. Yeah, I mean, it smells really good. It's really strong lavender. It's almost like lavender essential oil or something. Like it's a solvent though, it's not an oil. This is 100% fruit and flower natural oil essences. Contains no petroleum products. This is a petroleum product. This one is not. Non-toxic brush cleaning solution for oil painting. This one, they say it's a brush cleaner, but you can actually use it as a solvent to thin down your paints. I emailed them and asked them that because they sell another one. There's another one that they sell called Spike Oil Essence, and it is way more expensive, but it's a historical solvent that they used to use in the past hundreds of years ago. But this one's a lot cheaper, and you can use it as a solvent just as well, and it's non-toxic and stuff. So this is something I'm going to try to keep using in the future, even though it's a little more expensive than Gamsol. It's worth it for my health. There's also another one you can order called EcoSolve, ECO-Solve, S-O-L-V-E, and I've used that one before. It's a soy-based solvent, and it's non-toxic, just like the lavender one. So I'm going to get rid of Gamsol once and for all, I think. And I'm going to use EcoSolve, or I'm going to use this lavender one and maybe switch in between. I have some EcoSolve as well. I have a big gallon thing of EcoSolve. So I'll probably be using that for a while, and this lavender one. So I hope that answered your question. Probably gave more info than you needed. As always, that's what I always do. And also when I use my solvent, I have a little jar, solvent jar. And what I do after like 1 or 2 paintings, sediment, pigment builds up at the bottom of the jar. So I let it sit for like a day or 2, and the pigment separates from the solvent. And then I have 2 other jars that are empty. And one of them's for dirty pigment, and one of them's for clean pigment. So I take that back. So after like 1 or 2 paintings, I'll put the lid on my solvent thing. It's a stainless steel metal one that you clip down the lid real tight. I shake it up to get all the pigment dispersed into that solvent, and then I pour it into the dirty jar. I let that dirty jar sit for like 2 or 3 days. The solvent separates from the pigment, and then I pour that clean solvent into the clean jar that I have, and now I have clean solvent to use. So I try to recycle my solvent all the time so that you're not wasting it just because it's dirty. It separates, and you can use it clean again. So that's definitely a good habit to get into. Eventually you'll use all of it when you're cleaning your brushes. It'll get used, it evaporates, stuff like that. Oh boy, so many more questions. Okay, I'm gonna try to get to all these, folks. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for sticking with me. What's your favorite color? Probably Viridian. I like Viridian, and like the color of this shirt right here. It's kind of like a dark green, kind of Viridian. That's my favorite color. Did you reach your goal for this year art-wise? The problem is I didn't really have a goal set. And if I did, I don't really remember. I think these paintings I did in the last 2 weeks, I think I'm really happy with those, so I would say yes. But right now I'm really focusing on writing all the goals, not just for my art, but for the business side of my art for next year as well, and ways to execute that. I mean, I have so many notes on this thing. And so I'm really hoping to shoot for those goals next year And hopefully it's going to be a good year next year for me. And, you know, I think eventually I'll make some videos on the art business and stuff, but I kind of want to have some experience about it first, how I went about things, and just see what happens with it, see if it works. Are you going to do more drawing videos? Possibly. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any more videos. You know, I'm not sure when I'm going to do videos. I'm really focusing on my art right now and my business side, and YouTube is kind of slightly on the back burner right now, but I do enjoy doing these live streams every once in a while just to connect with everyone, give some info, you know, if somebody has questions or whatever, and just talk about what's been going on with me if people care, and you know, stuff like that. Do you have some not finished drawings? Kind of. I got one right here. Just give me a second. So here's my not finished drawing. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of light, but see, it's kind of a foot. Oh, a foot on a block here. It's like a cast of a marble carving or whatever. It's supposed to look like this when I'm done, but I don't know that I'm ever going to get there. I don't know if I want to finish it. Like here's kind of the first stage you're supposed to get to, and that's kind of where I was getting to. It's kind of where I was getting to. But yeah, it's supposed to look like that. Not there yet. I have one. I did that was finished. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't know where I put it. Oh, here we go. This is one that I finished. You can see photos of it on my Instagram and stuff. So this took a lot of hours, like 10 or 12 hours, something like that. It took me, I spent like all day one day just shading it. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So yeah, and I think for that I used, I'm trying to remember the 2H to a 2B or a 4B, something like that. Really light pencils. 2H or a 4H, I can't remember. You're welcome to come to Barcelona. It'd be great to hang around and to do some pochade rides. Yeah, man, sounds cool. Man, if I ever end up traveling to Europe, I'm gonna have to let a few people know, because I'm sure people wouldn't mind letting me stay a place, or you know, even just telling me a good place to stay. You know, oh, stay here. It's close to this. You know. It's safe, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm gonna have to. Hi from England here. I'm trying to show more light in my painting without using too much white. Right now, it just looks muddy. What do you recommend to brighten it up? I work mostly with pastel, but have been trying to learn how to use acrylic. Well, it's hard to say without seeing it. You know, you're trying to get light in your painting, so it's either the light values or you're not getting dark enough. And if things look muddy, it's because they're the wrong color temperature. So you could be having a lot of problems there with color temperature and value. You know, to get that light across, you need a separation of value. So if you have a reference photo, squint at your reference photo, and it'll separate the light from the dark, shadow from the light. And then you want to compare that, squint at your reference photo, and then look at your painting. Don't squint at your painting or pastel painting, whatever it is. Just look at your eyes, but squint at your reference photo and look at your painting and see if you're getting that separation of light and shadow. If you're not, then you know where your problem is. It's in value. If that separation looks correct, you should see light in your painting. That's my thing about it. If it's starting to look muddy, your shadows could be too warm. Your shadows could be too warm, or your light could be too warm. Usually if something's muddy, it's too warm. The shadows are too warm. If things look chalky, it's because your lights or something is too cool. So that's where that comes from. Speaking of solvent and mediums, what's your opinion on these modern mediums such as Gamblin's gels and the such? So check it out. I have Gamblin's Neo McGilp. I've used this a few times and I really like it. I don't think it's a bad thing to use, maybe. Danger, harmful or fatal if swallowed. Combustible liquid and vapor. See caution statement. No, I don't think they're bad to use. But for me personally, I don't use mediums anymore. I use, here's another one that I tried too. This is a lean medium from, this is the same as that lavender solvent. It's from Chelsea Classical Studio. Chelsea Classical Studio. This is a lean medium. They have a bunch of different mediums and stuff. They also have a fat medium. And this one is basically, it contains spike oil of lavender and some kind of solvent, which is their lavender solvent. And probably a little bit of linseed oil. They have a linseed oil that they sell that is very pure. It's almost clear like this. They really refine it. They get all the, you know, some places when you see linseed oil, it's like yellow, and I don't think it's cleaned properly, you know, and it's only going to make your paintings in the future yellow. So getting their mediums that are more clear or better, you know, and I wouldn't mind using something like this, like a lean medium, for some of my paintings, but I don't use mediums anymore. What I recommend to people is to find an oil paint brand or some kind of oil paint. It may necessarily not be an entire brand. It may be, okay, I like the ultramarine in Gamblin, but I don't like any of their other colors. Oh, sorry folks. So find colors that you like in brands that you like the consistency of. And this paint that I showed earlier, I like the consistency of it. I don't have to use mediums with it. I use paint straight from the tube. That's the way, that's how you should use, I mean, that's how I use painting. That's how I like using painting. And I thin it down sometimes with just a solvent in the earlier stages. And then as the painting progresses, I just use paint straight from the tube. I mean, I think people rely too much on mediums all the time. And they're like so concerned about, oh, fat over lean and the painting cracking and in 5 years and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. I think people get so caught up in all that stuff. And it's like, just use the paint out of the tube. What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, I would try to, for me, I just like I like keeping it simple. The more it gets complicated with mediums, then you have to worry about, oh, is it going to crack and blah, blah, blah. Throw all that out the window. Use thin paint in the beginning. As the painting progresses, use paint straight from the tube. That's, you know. Any tips on choosing your domain name? I saw you changed yours. I want to start a website soon. Thanks for answering my questions. I would love to invite you to Germany. Oh, dude, I would love to go to Germany. It's funny. I thought my whole life I was German because my last name is Schaefer. And I recently looked into my ancestry, and my great-great-great-great-grandfather or something like 4 generations back in 1850 came from Germany, right? Came from Germany to the U.S. only like 4 generations back. So it's like my dad's great-great-grandfather or something. I took a what is it? Not a DNA test. Is it a DNA test? What is it called, man? I'm blanking out right now. I took the DNA ancestry test, right? It comes back, I'm not German at all. I'm like, whatever, dude. But that's a whole interesting topic. Because your DNA can be gone in just a few generations anyway. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Anyways, any tips on choosing your domain name? Yeah, I changed mine because mine had a hyphen in it. It was my name with a hyphen, Brandon-Schaefer, and I never liked that. Never liked that. I've been waiting to get Schaefer.com, but I don't think I'm going to get that. And it's funny, just a few weeks back, BrandonSchaefer.com became available without the hyphen, except that it cost about, I think it was like $2,000 or $5,000, and I was like, nope, I'm not buying that. But last year, I bought Schaefer Fine Art. It was available, and I bought it, and I was like, okay, when I redo my website one day, I'm going to use this. And I just recently implemented it. I was like, I think that's what I want to do right now. And it just made sense, and I did it. So yeah, choosing, usually making it your name or just your last name, if possible, if it's still available. It's very hard nowadays, unless you have a very unique name. I don't really suggest hyphenating it because it's harder for people to type if they're like trying to search for your thing. You can make it your last name and just art. So mine could be, I also looked into getting SchaeferArt.com, but somebody already had it in like Germany or something. I have a very popular last name, so it's tough to find websites with Schaefer. They're already all taken. So yeah, I was lucky enough to get SchaeferFineArt.com. And I like it. I think it works. I mean, it explains what I'm doing. It's my last name with fine art. Boom. That's what I want. So yeah, I mean, whatever it is you're into, I think try to make it your name. I mean, most artists do that, I think. Jeremy Lipking, he has lipking.com. So yeah, try to make it something like that. I mean, and you can search, just go on GoDaddy.com and see what's available out there for what you're looking for. I mean, it probably depends on what country you're in for what, I'm not sure what the hosting is like over there or something, if there's any weird taxes and stuff, I don't know, but your Egyptian guide reporting for duty. Oh, dude, that would be so cool. That would be so cool. Do you live, what am I thinking? Is it Cairo? Or is that the capital? Where are the pyramids at? Giza. Giza, Egypt? Is that it? Pyramids of Giza? Are you near there, dude? That would be cool, man. I want to go to Egypt. Egypt is so cool. If you're in Egypt, I got a question for you. Have you heard about, I watch the, I don't know if anybody else out there watches this, but I watch the Joe Rogan podcast sometimes. Joe Rogan podcast. And he has some interesting people on there sometimes. One of them is Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock. And they think, by looking at the Sphinx, that the Sphinx is actually much older than the academics believe it is. I think it's really interesting because the erosion on the Sphinx and the retaining wall around the Sphinx enclosure shows a ton of water erosion, and it doesn't look like it's from wind and sand. So they're thinking the Sphinx may be much, much older, because the last time there was heavy rainfall and a lot of water there would have been 9,000 to 10,000 years ago, and they think the Sphinx is only like 4,000 years ago or something. Interesting though. That's a different topic though. I'm just wondering if anybody like watches that or has heard about that. I think it's pretty cool. I'm interested in that kind of stuff. Lighten with yellow if possible. Titanium white, for example, muddies paint very easily. So just add a tiny amount if you need to mix that way. That's a good point. I don't know if muddy is the actual right word. Usually if you add too much white to something, it looks chalky. It gets a chalky look, not a muddy look. Muddy is usually too warm, and white is the coolest color. So if anytime you add white to something, it gets cooler. It's not going to get warmer. So yeah, you're probably thinking it's too chalky. If that's happening, you're adding way too much. A lot of beginners do this with trees and stuff. Usually to get light to show through, it's not just adding white, it's getting the correct saturation. Usually trees, and getting the right value. Usually trees are much, much darker value than we think. Even like orange trees, yellow trees, the leaves on them are much darker value than what we think. So you really have to watch the values. So if you can, take your reference photo. If you have a reference photo, or if you're working from life, take a photo of it. And then on your phone, if you can, try to find some kind of free thing, editing program, and put it in black and white. And then take a photo of your painting and put it in black and white. And then compare it in black and white. That way you can see in black and white what the values actually are, because you may be trying to lighten things way too much, and I've done that myself in the past. I mean, everybody does it, I think, at some point. You end up trying to lighten things way, way too much. So it's something to be careful for. Do you have something else other than Facebook, like Instagram or something? I do have an Instagram. I'm going to type it in. Can I type? Why am I missing? Okay, it's not letting me type. I was trying to type into the chat, but I can't for some reason. My Instagram, just look me up on Instagram. Actually, just go to my website. It's SchaeferFineArt.com. All my social media is in the bottom right corner in red. I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have Twitter. What else is on there? I don't know. I have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those are the main ones I use most of the time. And I have YouTube. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. My Instagram is SchaeferArt, at SchaeferArt. My Twitter is backwards. It's Art Schaefer. That was the only thing available. So those are my... So follow me on those. I'd appreciate it. Please come to Sri Lanka one day. Man, I need to do like a global tour and come meet all you guys. You know what I mean? That would be so cool. But I don't have money for that. I need to do like a Kickstarter or something. I mean, it'd be cool to do plein air in all these different places, right? And have do a whole video series. I mean, I tried doing that with my Patreon, and I didn't get much following, which is fine. I mean, I know people don't have money to give to me to do that, but I wanted to just go around the U.S. and go to all these different locations and do a whole plein air kind of mobile type of trip, and meet different artists. I wanted to do like interviews, like almost like podcasts with other artists that aren't really known, that found me here on YouTube, meet up with them in their town and do like an interview with them and try to get them a little more exposure and just help them out with their art and do some plein air with them. Do a whole kind of series. I thought it would be cool, but I just don't have the funding to do that right now. But yeah, maybe one day, man, I can afford to have like a cameraman come with me and just film everything. And, you know, because right now I'm filming, editing, producing. I'm do everything. You know, I do all my marketing. I do all my logos. I create everything, you know. But hi from Germany. Thanks for your tutorials. I use acrylics. Do you still do critiques? Maybe private ones via email? I'll do a private critique. Yeah, just send me an email. My email is info@SchaeferFineArt.com. Just go to my website and you'll see a little envelope icon in the bottom right. Just click that. You can send me an email, attach some photos, and just let me know you want it to be a private critique. And yeah, I'll critique it. Sure. It may take me a few days to get back to you, but I'll get back to you. Very interesting chat. Unfortunately, I need to catch a plane tomorrow early in the morning. Hope to keep seeing you in this YouTube live chat. It's a fantastic idea. Bye. Thanks for tuning in, man. Hope your flight goes well, and thank you for joining in. I know you're probably already gone, but thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you. That's interesting indeed. All I know is that the Nile used to be much closer to the area than it is now, and floods were seasonal before the high dam was built. Yeah, I know that. It probably used to be, I know it's very fertile. But yeah, I mean, I would check out, if you're interested, if you find that interesting or anything for real, just just type in Joe Rogan, go to YouTube, type in Joe Rogan podcast, and type in, there was a debate between three guys. It was Randall Carlson, Michael Shermer, and Graham Hancock. It's like a 3-hour debate podcast, and it's really cool. Really, really cool stuff. If you guys are into like geology and history and the past and trying to figure out, you know, one of them's a skeptic and trying to prove the other's wrong, and they're trying to prove him, saying, look, we don't really know how old things are. You know, there's a lot of evidence coming up now showing that civilization is actually much older and more mysterious than we had originally thought. It's really crazy. Really, a lot of interesting things. Hi from Indonesia. Thanks for joining in. So many people from all across the world, man. This is a beautiful thing. I love this. That's one reason I love doing these live streams and stuff. I can just connect with people all across the world. Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bosnia, Croatia, Indonesia, India. I mean, there's so many people. It's crazy. This is unbelievable. You should look up Dan Nelson from Raleigh. Yep, I follow him. Yeah, I follow him. Great artist. I love what he does. It's cool that some of his videos he paints with two hands, you know, to keep it loose and stuff. Really great artist. Really cool. Ah, my nose is itching. I don't know why. Sorry, folks. I think I'm dying. Hi from New York. Have you ever been to the Metropolitan Museum? If not, do you plan on going? And if so, what would you want to see the most? Yeah, I would love to go to, they call it the Met, right? Yeah, it's on my list, dude. It's definitely on my list. I've only been to New York City once, and it was with my family, and we spent like a day and a half there. And we just kind of walked around the city, saw all the big things, you know, stuff like that. We didn't have time to go to like a museum and do all that. And nobody else was really interested in it. And I wasn't even interested in painting back then. So, but yeah, I definitely plan on going there. And see, that's another thing I want to do with like the plein air videos. Have a U.S. tour with plein air, but also visit all the major museums across the U.S., and give my opinion on the stuff, you know, take people to museums, just make some interesting content, you know. I think it's going to be cool. I'm going to do it one day. I know I'm going to make it a YouTube series for free for you guys to watch. It's going to be epic. I just don't know when I'm going to be able to do it or how I'm going to be able to afford it, but it's something I want to be able to do for people that can't visit these certain places, to be able to see the beauty and see people out there painting and just inspire people, you know. That's what it's all about. What would you want to see the most? I don't know. I'm not even sure what's actually there. I know there's a lot of Sargent paintings, a lot of other paintings. You know, I want to see it all. I want to see it all. Monet, all that kind of stuff. What do you pay for your website? It's fine. You don't want to talk about that. Yeah, it's fine. I'll talk about it. I used to pay my old website. I paid $4.95 a month for the hosting. It was a WordPress website, and my hosting company was horrible. It was Network Solutions. Never ever do Network Solutions. Do GoDaddy or something like that. I think GoDaddy, if you want to do WordPress, it's like $5 a month for hosting. Really cheap. Cheap for hosting. And then the domain is like 20 or $30 a year. So something like that, it's a little bit of an investment, but I think it's worth it to have it if you're really serious about your art and you want to try to sell your art. But now I've moved to Squarespace. I definitely recommend checking out Squarespace. It's very easy to build, very intuitive, much easier than WordPress. And I know about coding and stuff, so WordPress wasn't that hard for me. But Squarespace, real easy, real simple. And you can add a storefront, very easy. So you can sell right on your website like I'm doing. I have a little storefront right there. Very simple. And for that, I'm paying, they have different plans. You can do $8 a month. But there's no, you don't have a storefront. There's no e-commerce. So mine, I'm paying $18 a month. And I paid it all at once. It was like almost $200 a year, $196 a year. I mean, it's kind of expensive, but like I said, I'm starting to get really serious about selling my art and making a living. So I needed that storefront. I'm trying to get really serious about it. So I had to invest a little bit. And then it's like $20 a year for the domain name. And right now I have my old domain name pointing to my new domain name. So that's also costing me an extra $20 a year. I mean, $20 a year for the domains. And it was like $18 a month for the hosting, but you have to pay it all up front. So, not super expensive, but it costs a little bit. It costs a little bit. Hello from Iraq. Wow, thanks for joining me. How is it in Iraq right now? I recently saw a documentary of a small part of Iraq. Somebody from Lithuania. Wow. Thanks for tuning in, guys, from across the world, man. Iraq and Lithuania. I don't know that I'd ever be able to go to Iraq. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate what America has done to Iraq. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the whole deal with Saddam and all that. I don't know if he was a good dude. I mean, from what I've heard, he wasn't a great dude. But, who knows the whole deal? I mean, it seems like it's worse now than it used to be. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't like getting into politics and stuff like that because it's really a slippery slope. But, wow. Glad to see someone here from Iraq. Really cool. If you come to Europe, you need to go to the Netherlands and see I don't know how to pronounce that, the Rembrandt Museum type of thing. Rembrandt's Night Watch is there and many more. That's definitely on my list. Thanks for the info, Hugo. I appreciate it. Yeah, Europe. There's so many things in Europe to see, man. Like, I could probably spend a whole year just in Europe, like traveling and just seeing all the museums. And, I really want to go to, I think, Sweden, Zorn's house. I want to go to Anders Zorn's house. Love to go there. That would be so cool. Justin Davis, JD. What's going on, bro? Thanks for joining me. Looks like a sweet painting from what I can see. Are you talking about my one over here, back here? Yeah. That's pretty cool. Do you sell through galleries? Also, how long did it take to actually sell art? I have not sold through galleries yet. That's one piece of the puzzle of the plan that I have for next year is getting some gallery showings, getting into galleries, seeing how it goes. Yeah, I mean, selling art is tough. And it's something that you don't really want to focus on selling art. You want to create a niche market and, you know, try to sell to your target audience. You know what I mean? Like mine is people who love nature and people who love forests and trees and stuff like that. I mean, they're going to love my paintings most likely. Those are going to be the people that like my paintings. People that are into redwood forests and conservation and preserving forests and nature. Those are my people. So that's the people I want to try to sell to. Hello from Australia and somebody from Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining, man. Thanks for joining. Your tutorials have helped me improve a lot. Just wanted to say thank you. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad the tutorials have helped. That's my goal, man. That's why I do them. I hope they're helpful. All right, guys, I got to get going here soon. I've already been on for almost 2 hours. I didn't even realize it. It just zoomed right by. Okay, is there any downside to the WordPress packages where a domain and the hosting is included? You know, I don't know. There's not really like I don't know if there's a huge downside. You know, it's probably cheaper to do it that way, but you just kind of have to be good. You kind of have to be a little tech savvy with WordPress to get it to look really good in the way you want. But, you know, just try it out. You can always, once you buy your domain, just keep that domain. You can always transfer the hosting. You can always transfer the domain. I just got rid of Network Solutions. They were my hosting company. I just transferred my domain out of there because it took like 5 days to transfer. It was ridiculous. With GoDaddy, I transferred the domain myself in 15 minutes to Squarespace. With Network Solutions, it took 6 days, a week to transfer. Ridiculous. So I got rid of them. But just try it and for a few months. If you don't like it, try Squarespace. Try something else. You can always cancel that or transfer it. You know, you can always just, you know, connect it. Connect your domain to a different hosting. You know, you can experiment with different things. So just give it a go. Just give it a go and do some research online. Read online about, see what people say about each one. And then just try to make a decision. And see what you think. Okay. Sorry, I don't draw anime. I'm more into realism. Taught me a lot about shadows. Before I watched, I couldn't draw a shadow to save my life. Have a great night and thanks again. Hey, no problem. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for the comment. I very much appreciate it. And I'm glad they're helping you out. And I'm glad it helped you out. And wish you well with your art, man. Just keep working at it. You know, it gets better. Things will just keep clicking. If you keep working at it, you'll slowly just keep getting better. Things will start clicking. Hello from Colorado. Thanks for joining. Leah Richardson. I'm pretty sure I've seen you here a few times. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for your point of view. No problem. No problem. I hope it was somewhat helpful. But yeah, I mean, at some point, just do a little bit of research, you know, for like a week, just read up for a few days and then just go for it, you know. Obviously, don't spend so much money that you're going to be in debt or anything like that. If you have to, save up some money and then jump into it. But, you know, you can always change it. Nothing is permanent. Really cool that you took time to chat with us. Have a great night. Hey, thanks. No problem. You know, I try to do it every once in a while. I've been looking at GV. I cannot say that name. Gabor Vagagric. I sound so stupid trying to say that. A lot lately. Do you know him? Oh, I still can't pronounce it, even though you spelled it correctly the second time. No, I've never heard of him. Let me look him up real quick. Is he a contemporary artist, like alive nowadays? I'll know in just a minute here. Let me look him up. For anybody watching the replay, it's GABORSVAGRIK, I think. Oh man, my browser is freezing up. I got so many tabs open. Oh, Hungarian landscape painter. Why did I have all these tabs open? Artist, teacher, blogger. Nice. Oh, it looks like does he have a Squarespace site too? It definitely looks like he's using Squarespace too. A lot of artists have kind of switched to Squarespace. Now I'm going to check him out. Hugo, thanks for, yeah, he is contemporary. I see it now. Yeah, thanks for the info, and thanks for, I'm gonna check him out, man. I'm always looking for inspiration in different artists and seeing what everybody's doing. I just draw for fun, but you were 100% right. In just the last few months, I've improved a lot. Yeah, definitely. I mean, in a whole year, you can improve a whole lot just by drawing like an hour every day. You'll get so much better, and people, that's the problem. People just don't want to do that. They don't have the patience. I really like the plein air painting you did with the pond and the ducks, by the way. Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's one of my, that's probably one of my, maybe one of my greatest plein air. I mean, the composition isn't the greatest, but I got the colors and everything pretty spot on. And it was pretty cool to actually paint like a bunch of geese that were actually moving around and stuff. You're talking about this one, correct? With the pond and the geese. It was a bunch of Canadian geese, and the sun's going down, almost sunset. But yeah, I was pretty thrilled about this little plein air painting. This is when I just started using the expanded palette that I'm using now, the more colors, and I was really confused, man. I was going, I don't know what color makes what. I hadn't done the color charts yet, so nothing was clear in my mind, and it was a mess. But it turned out pretty well. Do you ever make prints of your work, and do you have any suggestions regarding print companies? Yeah, I haven't really made prints of my work yet. I haven't gotten to that point, I think, of where I want to be doing that yet. Unfortunately, I don't have any info on print companies or anything. I had my work on Fine Art America for a while, but that's technically not like a print company, like where you go and get stuff printed and then you have prints. It's kind of a print on demand. So if somebody orders it, they print it up and ship it. So yeah, unfortunately, sorry, I just haven't reached that stage yet. Oh, he's based in the U.S. Yeah, I think he said he's Hungarian born. I think that's what it said. You're right. He's based in the U.S. Check out Peter Draws. Yeah, I'm gonna check him out. Peter Draws. I wish I could make anything half that beautiful. Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, it takes time, man. It takes a lot of time. I think I just got lucky on this painting. I mean, when you really zoom in, it's really the values and the color that really make it realistic looking. These ducks and stuff, when you look at it real closely, it's not a duck. It's just, really quickly me dabbing some paint on there. But from far away, it's ducks in a pond. When, from a viewing distance, if you're looking at that in a museum, viewing distance with a frame on it, people are going to know what it is. And that's the thing about painting is, you know, even just looking back here as well, all these trees and stuff, different colors. It's just a bunch of jumble of colors and paint strokes and stuff. But together, these values, shadows at the bottom here, light at the top, these values and stuff create the image all together. So, yeah. I'm just looking at some of my other paintings here. I don't know if I've showed many of these here on YouTube. I did one. I'm trying to remember what I did with it. Let me get it real quick. Oh, that's heavy. Here we go. I did this one recently. It's a study. It's a black and white painting of a plaster cast. It took me about 6 hours to do this, but I painted it from life. I set up a still life thing, and it was the plaster cast of it. So I set this up, put a light on it, and then just painted it. So that's it's just a plaster cast of a sculpture. So yeah, that's probably one of my best paintings, and I really learned a lot doing that one. I was actually going to draw it in charcoal first, and I just was like, I'm in the mood to paint it. So I just did black and white painting. Yeah, you don't want to create a photograph but a painting. Yeah, exactly. You know, you kind of keep it abstract. Keep the paint looking like paint, but from far away, it looks like something. You know, that's what I like too. Hey man, really solid instructional videos. They've inspired me to attempt painting again. Not sure if this work is up your alley, but check out Vincent Gallo. He works in many different mediums. Thanks, I will definitely check that out. I'm gonna make a note right now. Check him out. Glad you find the videos helpful. So Vincent Gallo. Okay. Would you have a suggestion on a sketch kit to buy for a beginner? I got a 12 pencil set for $16 that I love, but I don't know anything, so they could be junk for all I know. I think it's probably fine. You know, it's you don't have to get like the best quality pencils or anything like that. I don't really use like the best quality pencils. So yeah, don't worry about it too much. You know, I would just go on Amazon and just look up pencil sets. And yeah, the 12 pencil set should be fine. That's plenty of pencils. That's, you know, start using the very lighter pencils. I used to not use like 2H and 4H. Start using those for really, really light shading. And then, you know, use like a 2B or a 4B for like the darkest you're going to get. And you can do a lot of good drawings with just like a range from like 2H to 2B or 4B. You can get a lot darker than you think. Just wanted to say I really appreciate your passion and dedication to your craft. Really inspiring. Thanks for the comment, man. Really appreciate it. You guys have shown me so much love, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and commenting and interacting with me. I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this little live stream. I'll try to do them like, you know, a few times a month here and there. I try to keep up with them. Sorry, I kind of been absent on YouTube lately, but you know, it's for my own health. You know, I just got to take a break and just focus on my business and stuff like that. So thanks, Leah. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody's art goes well. You know, stick with it, man. Stick with it. You're going to get good. You'll get better. I mean, you can go back to some of my very, very beginning videos and look at the art I was doing. It's not that good. It wasn't that good compared to what I'm doing now. So take that inspiration. Know that I got better. You can too. You know, that's what it's all about. And just, if you're really passionate about it, just keep doing it. Keep getting with it. And eventually you can make this into a business. You can make this into a lifestyle. You just got to work at it. It's going to be tough, but you can do it. That's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, take care, everybody. Be sure to check out my website down the link below, SchaeferFineArt.com. Brand new website, redesign, new artwork up. Check it out. Check out some of the new blog posts I've been writing. More coming soon. Take care of yourself, as always. Keep on painting and drawing. Don't get discouraged. Take care of yourself. Peace, my friends.